Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unlocked Tuesday live stream. I am Jessie Lang. I teach people to buy and manage long-term rental properties and buy 1 to 3 properties a month on autopilot. So if you are a rental business owner, or if you are really any business owner for this live stream, it is going to be very, very important that you meet and understand everything that our awesome guest is about to teach you. So we have with us Miss Lauren McGarity. She is a long practicing attorney, and I'll let you introduce yourself. But what we are talking about today is the Corporate Transparency Act, and this is an act that everyone who owns any entity in the entire United States will need to pay attention to. So take it away.
Hi, thanks, Jessie. So yes, my name's Lauren McGarity, and yes, I'm an attorney. I practice in the state of Ohio only. And I do want to start by saying that what we're going to be talking about today, or what the information that I'm going to be providing you, is public information. I am not going to be giving legal advice to anybody. I'm happy to answer questions for the benefit of everyone. But, attorneys need not give legal advice in this type of a forum. So, as Jessie said, the Corporate Transparency Act is very relevant to every business owner and every owner of an entity which is registered with at least one Secretary of State in one state in the United States. Okay,
Say that again.
I'm going to say it. I was going to say that again. This is federal law, so this applies to all states in the country. So if you are affiliated, and we'll get into more specifics on that in a minute, but if you are affiliated with an entity, it can be a business, it can be an LLC, it can be a corporation, it might even be a trust that is registered with the Secretary of State's office in whatever state, in at least one state in the United States. So sometimes an entity is registered in multiple Secretary of State's offices, but if it's registered in at least one, then you need to pay attention to what's called the Corporate Transparency Act, and more specifically, the beneficial owner reporting component of that act. So just to back up a minute, our government is very concerned, and of course this is my words, not our government's words, about appropriate use of entities or companies within the United States. So they're particularly concerned about the potential for money laundering. And oftentimes the money laundering perpetrators are residents of outside of this country. So they could be residents in any other place in the world, or they can be residents of the United States of America.
Okay.
So what our federal government is trying to do is get a handle on who are the owners of the beneficial owners of these entities. So it's not about reporting the entity. It's about reporting for the beneficial owners, for those persons or other entities who own 25% or more ownership interest in a particular entity or multiple entities.
You guys, let's pause for a second. Y'all, let us know in the comments if you are a beneficial owner, meaning 25% or more in any entity in the United States. Let us know in the comments so we know exactly who we're talking to. And as we go through, if you have any questions, just throw them in the comments and we will have a Q&A at the end. So, yep, we got a yes. Definitely. I know I'm a beneficial owner. Do I need to file for my trust? I didn't know that.
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
we'll get into that a little bit more. But
So if
again,
I
I
don't have to do
can't
my
give
trust,
legal advice, Jesse. So
sorry. Yeah. What am I asking? So we have 4 personally that I'm a beneficial owner. So I have this task to do 4 times. So
correct.
yeah, what if we have more than one entity? Exactly right. If you have more than one, you're doing this more than once. You're doing it for every entity. You are a beneficial owner. So sorry to interrupt. Continue.
No. I think it's important, and it is the type of information that I'm, trying to articulate in a way that makes total sense to everyone, but it's couched in legal language, so it's complicated. Um, but I think you've got the nut of it. If you own 25% or more of an entity, not a sole proprietorship. So a sole proprietorship is a business which is not registered necessarily with a Secretary of State's office. And it uses the Social Security number of its beneficial owner, essentially.
Okay.
So that is not an entity that needs to report. That is not a beneficial owner. The beneficial owner of that entity, of a sole proprietorship, does not need to report. Who needs to report are those beneficial owners with 25% or more of, for example, an LLC, a limited liability company. I mentioned the trusts only because there are some situations, and it may or may not apply to anyone listening at this time, where the trust itself is a member of one or more, let's, for example, limited liability companies. And the trustee actually has influence over the decisions of the LLC. So in that instance, the trust, through its trustee, obviously, I mean, the trust would have to be the trustee, would need to file as the beneficial owner. So again, it's, if you think about what the purpose is of this legislation, getting back to the proper use of money and the proper use of entities in this country, doing business in this country, then it starts to make sense, as to why it's about the owners, owner or owners, not about the entity itself.
Okay. Okay, well, cool. I mean, so it sounds like we understand kind of who would need to file. And so what exactly is being filed?
So the information that is required pertains to, again, the beneficial owner. So you have to identify the entity, of course. So if there's an EIN for the entity, or um, there's information pertaining to the entity so that it can be discerned, and then the information about the beneficial owner. So one of an important element is the provision of a driver's license, for example, so that when I did submit for the multiple entities that I'm a beneficial owner of, I had to submit my driver's license front and back, multiple times. And in anticipation of this getting a little convoluted for people, my website has, we revamped the website that is relevant to my law practice, and people can just sign in, and there is a fee, and it's a fee that is considerably less than an hour's worth of legal fee. To be able to just go in, put in your information, and my colleagues go ahead and submit your compliance and then send you verification of that. So
Lizzie just dropped your website into the chat, which is awesome. And then on the website, and I know this because I've been through the process, is that you submit the driver's license, submit your entity information, and then if someone were to do this on their own, they could, in theory, go file themselves, right?
Sure.
Through
Sure.
like
Anything, yeah, anytime there's a government entity at any level involved, nobody has to hire an attorney, to do the work. So you can do the work, what's called pro se, so without an attorney. You would need to, I presume, Google this act under the federal government, and I again presume I didn't do it since I felt it better to just file it through my website.
yeah.
And they'll direct, the government website will, the federal government website will direct you and lead you down that path. Yeah.
And so there is, of course, with, as you said, with any government option or entity, the option to do it yourself. But what if you don't want to do it yourself? What if any sort of government document is overwhelming and not a good use of your time? I can then what options would we have to potentially work with you to make sure that our entities are compliant?
Literally, and I don't mean to make this into an infomercial, because I really would want to make sure that your audience understands what their obligations are. However, it's literally as simple as going onto our website. There's a big box that talks about Corporate Transparency Act and compliance, regulatory compliance, which this is a requirement. And it's very important to understand the deadlines
I
for
was about
this.
to ask, when
Okay,
is this
because
due?
so it depends. If the entity was created, was organized, or incorporated, or whatever the situation is, in 2024, the beneficial owners have only 90 days.
90
So
days.
90 days, period.
So if
Uh,
you guys opened an entity in February and you have not filed this,
yeah,
you are not compliant.
you are already not compliant,
Yeah.
correct. If the entity was created prior to 2024, then the absolute deadline is December 31st of this year. If you're planning on having, us assist you with this, please don't wait till December 30th to submit, because we probably will have taken down the option because
Yeah, I hope you're with your family.
I can't guarantee a timely submission if the information isn't timely
Sure.
provided. So that's the deadline, and if you choose not to comply, then the penalty, this carries a penalty of $500 a day, up to $500 a day, or $10,000. And if you think, oh well, how will they find me? How will I actually have to pay that? I don't know the answer to that,
Okay.
but I didn't want to take the risk myself of paying $10,000 per entity that I decided I was going to delay on. So
So Megan was asking, have we seen the entities, non-compliant entities facing fines yet?
I have not,
Okay.
because everyone that has submitted their information through my website portal is compliant. We make sure that they're compliant. But you wouldn't expect that the attorney would necessarily know if somebody had, so I don't know what the states are doing to identify entities that were created within 2024 and perhaps are beyond the 90-day mark. I can only presume that there's communication between the federal government and our state governments to let the federal government know who's doing what, where, and when.
Okay. Lizzie is asking, is this something that should, like, where are they telling people? Because I learned about this through you, through an email, and you're my attorney. So where are other people learning? Is it through Secretary of State? Do you get a letter in the mail? Like, how do people know that
I
this is a
can't.
requirement?
I can't answer what other states are I don't know what all the different secretaries of states are doing.
Sure.
I would presume that particularly with entities that are new this year, that each Secretary of State's office will have created an information letter to send out to um, you know the agent, the statutory agent of that entity. Now, let me be clear though. Every Secretary of State's office, so every state requires a statutory agent to be the, uh, for lack of a better term, public face or public name or contact person or entity on behalf of every company. So the only information they would have, they being the Secretary of State's office, is who is the statutory agent. So many companies,
At the time that the entity was created, right? Because
and
unless you
going
go and
forward,
update it.
yeah. So whatever the statutory agent is at whatever time the Secretary of State inquires.
Right.
So, however, many entities, I know many small businesses use companies to be there. There are agency companies where they provide the service of being a statutory agent. That's where the letters are going. They're not going to go to the beneficial owners. They're going to go to the statutory agent. So, to answer whoever, Lizzie, or whose ever question
Yeah.
it was, as to how are people knowing about this, um, that's a good question. And I guess depending on where you're at and who you are and who you know, attorneys should be telling their clients. They should have been telling I've been telling my clients since the beginning of January, which is when it went into effect.
Okay. Yeah, super, super helpful. Nancy is asking, if you complete this and make a mistake, would they contact you, or can you correct it in any way? I know that you guys probably aren't making mistakes, but if that were to happen, is there an option to correct?
Yes, I'm sure that yes. I don't know exactly the button to push sitting here right now talking with you, but yes, there is a way to correct information. I mean, the government doesn't want incorrect information, so it appreciates when you correct when somebody corrects the record.
Okay. Kiana's saying she hasn't received anything. If you are your own statutory agent, I would look for something in the mail. If you are not your own statutory agent, then I would contact them and see if they've received anything on
Well,
your behalf.
that's good information. To be honest, at this point, we're in September. And even in the best case scenario, compliance is by December 31st of this year. So I really wouldn't delay and try to look for a letter. The letter is not going to give you substantially any different information than you're getting right now. So you are being notified.
This is it. This is your notification, you guys.
I don't know realistically, you now have the information. And if you say, well, I didn't do this timely because I was waiting for a letter, that is not a defense.
Understood. So this is your notice. You can do it yourself. John says he did it himself, which is perfectly fine. If you don't want to be bothered, you don't want to mess around with any government websites, head on over to Lauren's website. Do you want to talk about kind of the pricing structure at all?
Well, there's two different pricing structures. One is for a beneficial owner who has one entity, and they're maybe the sole member of an LLC, for example, and that's $130 flat.
Yeah.
If you are a beneficial owner of multiple entities, then there's a price break based on the number of entities. And to be honest, I don't have my website up right now because I'm looking at you, Jesse, but it's a 1 to 5, 6 to 10, et cetera,
Sure.
type of schedule. And it's all very transparent. I mean, I made sure the very, there's Q&A on the website. There's 5 steps to this process, and they're very much enumerated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and number 3 is the upload of your driver's license. So number 4 is the invoice, to pay the invoice, and number 5 is you get confirmation of the submission, so that
Awesome.
you're in compliance.
And do you want to talk? So Bob, this is a great segue. Bob just said he filled out the contact info to get started with you, which is amazing. Mention the timeline on the payment and when that should fall.
So the first step is to read and look, and there's a engagement letter in there, which is, you read it, you sign it with your digital, you just sign it, type it in, and then it takes you to the form that for us to gather your information. So you complete the form. It probably takes less than 3 minutes to complete our form, and assuming that the information that's being asked, such as your name and address, and
I think we got that.
entity and so forth. Step 3, to my recollection, is the upload of your driver's license to the website. That will generate an invoice to you based on, if you check the box that said you have multiple entity, based on your information. And as soon as you pay it, you'll get notice that we've submitted your data and you are compliant. You'll have a printout for your records.
So I want to call out, just, to make it a little more clear, if you do intend to use the services and you sign that engagement letter, please move forward with the services and don't, because they do work behind the scenes. So just don't change your mind after you submit all that stuff, because they are working on it. That I just want to call that out.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. And Keisha, who is not her Facebook name, but we love her, is this the same as the annual report? That's something different, right?
Okay. Is this person in a state other than Ohio?
In Illinois, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Illinois, I do not practice in Illinois, but the annual report I believe you're referring to is probably an LLC. That if you have an entity with the Secretary of State in Illinois, the Secretary of State of Illinois may require you to submit an annual report. This is not the same. That's at the state level in Illinois. This is at the federal level. Good question.
Awesome. Yeah. So different. I had a question. So what if you open a new entity in 2025 or into the future? Is it the 3 months?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. As of now,
the only leeway we have is 2024. If the entity was open prior, they give you a year.
Correct.
From next year out, you have 3 months from the time of any entity creation.
Correct.
Okay. And then do you have to do this every year? It's a one-time?
I do not believe we'll have to do this, but one time.
Okay.
I mean, again, this is new law. Things can change, but as of right now, it's just a reporting.
Awesome. Well, very cool. This has been super informative. This replay will be up on our YouTube. It will be on our Facebook guides. So if you guys have any more questions, you're going to be able to contact Lauren, kind of get this cleared up. If this is interesting to you, and if you own some rental properties and want to really, really learn how to not just buy the properties themselves, but actually build a business around property ownership like we've done, I am hosting a free workshop pretty much directly after this. So it's 3 p.m. Eastern, and it's a private group setting. Lizzie just dropped the link into the chat. So if you guys want to join a workshop where you can learn how to build a rental business, buy multiple rentals every month, like we do, then definitely hop on that workshop. We'll love to see you there. Other than that, Lauren, thank you so much for having us. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And this will be a replay forever. So you'll probably get some folks reaching out into the future.
All right. Thank you, Jessie.
Thank
you,
you.
everyone. Have a good
Bye,
day.
everyone.
Bye.